Guys, welcome to the Honest Podcast. Um, Before we get started, let me tell you what I'm drinking on here. I got some tea, some hot tea here, chai tea with lemon from a company called Twinnings. What is it? Twinnings. Yeah, so I'm a big tea drinker, man. I've been drinking tea since I was young, since I was a kid, since I was a teen, man. I've been drinking tea. I'm 44 years old. I'm still drinking tea. Um, I'm not a person that typically gets sick. Uh, Drinking tea for over 30 years maybe has something to do with it. Who knows? Tea has uh, a lot of healthy things in it, a lot of oxidants, antioxidants, and things like that. That's good for you. So who knows, man? Maybe this is part of the reason why I don't get sick too often. I do get sick. I'm not saying I don't get sick, but I'm not sickly. I'm not a person that's sickly. So, if you're not a tea drinker, if you are a tea drinker, it's a lot of antioxidants and things like that in it. If you're not a tea drinker, then there's alternatives, things that you can drink that has the same kind of health benefits in it that'll help you. So this is my first episode for this podcast, man, and this podcast is going to be extremely honest, and that's why I created it. I created it for honest dialogue that in an honest space for men that we can have and that we can talk to one another. And my first episode is going to be about men, women, and relationships. I think I think this is pressing the most pressing issues for men today. And the reason why I say that is because usually when I talk to people, uh, especially men, let me preface that. When I talk to men, this is usually the biggest issue that men have. So it's not about being able to find work or being able to make money. Um, it's more so about relationships and how to keep a relationship going, or really how to find the right person to start a relationship with. So I want to tell you that if you find a good woman to start your life with, it can be the greatest blessing. If it's the wrong woman, it can be your greatest curse. It can be your greatest downfall. Most men that I know who have had things go wrong in their lives, it was due to a woman. The wrong woman, the wrong woman that they chose to marry, just bad relationships, man. And then there's a flip side to that. The guys you see who tend to be the most successful are the guys who found the right woman to spend the rest of their lives with. And it's a lot of things that because we're greatly a generation that I think our generation lacks more. I think our generation probably lacks a lot more male father figures than past generations. And a lot of us grew up in the 80s. I know I grew up in the 80s. And depending on where you were and what you was going through, uh, with drugs and everything else that came into America, everything was just inflated. I mean, a lot of families got destroyed. So a lot of us lacked that mental that male guidance that we needed to become fully men. So a lot of the generations before us, they got a head start on manhood versus how a lot of us made out. I know when I was growing up, there was only out of all my friends, I only had one friend. I just yawned, apologize. I only had one friend that had a father. Out of all my friends, he was the only one that had a dad. So we was all lacking in that particular department. Not having a father, not knowing what it's like to be a man and how to handle certain situations. A lot of us just grew up around women or we grew up with our moms, and you take after, you pick up traits based on how you're raised and who raised you. So a lot of us was raised with with a lot of feminine traits and personality traits and characteristics. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us were lacking in that area, and something that we should have learned earlier on in life. It takes us longer to learn because we're handicapped. We're starting behind the starting line instead of at the starting line. So you get into a habit of acting in ways you shouldn't be acting in because number one, it's not masculine. Number two, it's not being responsible. And then you really don't know how to pick the right woman outside of how she looks. And I think that's where a lot of us are stuck at, is we're stuck in a phase where we know how to pick a woman based on what she looks like because that's what we want. But we don't really know how to pick a woman based on life, like what we need in life to go on in our life and to be successful in life and to be successful with our families and to be successful that way. We don't know how to pick the right women when it comes to that being the goal. And I think our biggest problem is we don't know what to look for. And I'm gonna use somebody for an example, but I want to make it clear that I'm not pointing a finger at these two individuals. I'm just using them as an example because it's an easy example to use. It's something that everybody can verify. Whoever's listening to this, you can verify it, but you can see what's been going on with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and how their marriage disintegrated basically before our eyes because everything they do is publicized. But it was something that Kim said recently that gave you light to why their divorce ultimately went under because she's the one that filed. So you're going to see, I'm going to read her comments, but I'll put the link in the description and you can go and read it for yourself on CNN. But I'm going to read you what she said, and I want you to pay attention to what she said. And these are the kind of things that you want to look for when it comes to picking a woman that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So in an interview Kim Kardashian did with Vogue, they asked her a question and about her marriage and why did she decide to split from Kanye. And she said, I think in the last 2 years I decided I'm going to make myself happy. She said, and that feels really good. She went on to say, and even if that created changes and caused my divorce, I think it's important to be honest with yourself about what makes you happy. I've chosen myself, she told the publication. I think it's okay to choose you. Now, I want you to kind of digest the things that she said. I want you to, a lot of people hear words. I don't want you to just listen and or hear. I want you to listen and I want you to hear it. So I want these words to sink in because everybody is not fit for marriage. Mostly everybody probably wants to be married, but everybody is not fit for marriage. Now I'm going to read again what she said. She said, I think in the last 2 years I decided I'm going to make myself happy. And that feels really good. She went on to say, even if that created changes and caused my divorce, I think it's important to be honest with yourself about what really makes you happy. I've chosen myself, she told the publication. I think it's okay to choose you. So Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's divorce is all about Kim choosing herself over her marriage. She says that, and that's not me putting words in her mouth. That's me saying exactly what she said. So she put her happiness above her marriage. I want to share with you guys something. When you decide to take that step and get married and start a family, your own individual happiness gets put on the back burner. That's no longer the primary focus of your life. Once you as a man decide to get married and have a family, your personal happiness and what personally makes you happy is now secondary. Now your focal point of happiness is putting your wife first and putting your family first and putting you third. And it seems like Kim got tired of doing that. She said it's time for her to put herself first. So she got tired of putting Kanye first. She got tired of putting her family first. She wanted to put herself first. That created the changes and that caused a divorce. So let me tell you something. Um, and again, this is not me pointing out them specifically because this is just a template of why marriages today are failing with modern women. This is just a template of a sample. This is just a sample size of what's going on across our country. You have women that get married that don't really want to be married. They definitely want the wedding. They definitely want the ring, but they want the title, but they don't want the responsibilities that come with it. When you get married, your individual happiness is no longer the focal point or the focus of your life. It now becomes secondary. Your focal point of happiness now has to be for your spouse and for your family. And it seems like Kim was doing that. And according to what she said, she wasn't happy. She wasn't happy doing that. She's only happy putting her own happiness first and everybody else second. Now, she'll argue that, or any woman that got divorced because of these reasons will argue that. But you can't argue that this breakup, this divorce hurt the family. Kids would love to see their parents together. There's no kid or kids out there that wants to see their parents separated unless there's some kind of abuse or something like that going on inside the house. But no kids want that. So not only did she divorce her husband and then broke him, but she also broke her family because she put her own happiness first. And this is the pattern that we're seeing now in this country on why families are failing and why relationships are failing and why our marriages are in the state that they're in. And you can even go back and look at the previous relationships of a woman. I think that's very important. I think any woman you decide to marry, you need to look at her track record. The same way a job looks at your resume to see if you have a history of working. They don't want to see big gaps where, you worked for 2 years and you didn't work for 3 years, where you worked for 6 months, you didn't work for 2 years. They want to see a consistent pattern of you working and then of you having a job. That denotes responsibility. That says that you're a person that's disciplined. That says that you're a person that's dependable, that's reliable, that's consistent. That's what a person's resume says because a company doesn't know anything about you. So the only thing they have to go on is your resume. It's the same way when you decide to get into a relationship with someone, and especially when you're deciding to marry someone, you need to look at their resume. And their past relationships is their resume. Uh, Kim has been married and divorced twice. So she already has a resume of someone who can't make a marriage work. Now you're gonna have somebody out there say, well, this could have happened and that could have happened. Sure, things always happen, but we have to look at what's probable and not what's possible. Is it possible that a woman could have married two people who were physically abusive or who were habitual cheaters? Sure, it's possible, and that does happen. But we have to look at what's probable, what's most likely to have been the case. So she was married twice and divorced twice. I tell people this all the time that whenever you're dealing with a woman that's been divorced, if you choose to do that, if you're a man that's never been married, I don't suggest dealing with a woman that's been divorced. She's already showed you that the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life, one of the biggest ones, is who you spend the rest of your life with. And I'm not kidding. It's bigger than whatever college you choose to go to. It's bigger than whatever job you choose to take. Whoever you pick to marry will be the biggest decision of your life because it's a decision that can destroy your life. It can either make your life as good as possible or it can break your life. I mean, men have been financially destroyed and ruined, families have been ruined, men have lost their lives, men have committed suicide. So this is the biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life. And I'm talking about natural decision, the biggest natural decision you ever make in your life. I'm not talking about anything spiritual, but this is the biggest natural decision you'll ever make in your life. So you have to make sure that you're picking the right person to spend the rest of your life with, to join your life with. Because if you don't, this is the result. This is what ends up happening. Now they're on Twitter and any other kind of social media space saying stuff that's really not our business. I mean, but it's out there. They're printing it. You're going to read it. But I didn't put everything I read that Kim said is what was printed from her conversation with Vogue. So I didn't make any of this up. I didn't say on here that she's selfish, that she wants to put herself first and that's why her marriage failed. She said it herself. I'm just paraphrasing I said verbatim what she said, but I'm telling you, once you listen to it and you read it, what this reeks of is I'm selfish. I'm too selfish to be in a marriage. I'm too selfish to be a wife. I was tired of putting my husband first. I was tired of putting my family first. I want to put me first and do what makes me happy. Being in a marriage is not about what makes you happy. It's about what's best for everyone that's a part of that family. What's best for your spouse, what's best for your children. Truth be told, a lot of times what's best for your kids and what's best for your spouse may not necessarily be what you want or what you desire, but it's what's best for them. It's kind of like if you live in a town or a city and your kids have roots there and it's a great school system, but maybe it's slow and you rather live somewhere that's a little bit more quick, a little bit more fast paced. So that may be your desire to live somewhere that's a little bit more fast paced and a little bit more quicker. But for your kids who have friends and who go to school in a great school system, and your wife, she may have family there and she has friends. For them, it would be best that you stay put. So these are the type of decisions you have to make if you decide as a man that you want to get married. That it's not about your happiness anymore. That it's about your wife and about your family. It's about what's best for them. And that's something that Kim has never done. And you might say, how do you know she's never done it? Well, I'll say I know she's never done it because she's been married 3 times and she's been divorced 3 times. So this is a resume. This is her resume now. So any guy that gets into a relationship with her and decides to marry her, you're obviously looking at a guy that's not intelligent, a guy that doesn't know how to read a resume, or a guy that's just, for lack of a better word, he's just stupid. No one will hire someone for a job if at their last 3 jobs they were fired. Fired for calling out, fired for being lazy, fired for not going into work, and just fired for stealing. No one will hire that person because that person has showed that they have a track record of not being dependable, not being reliable, and not being disciplined. So no company is going to take a chance on someone like that. The risks are too great for any type of reward you think it will be getting. So anyone at this point that decides to date Kim or someone like her who has her resume, at this point they're just foolish and they're asking to be broken. And this is where as men where we have to take some responsibility because we love beauty. Men love beautiful women. And that's why the most dangerous thing that you'll ever encounter is actually, it's not the police, it's not drugs, unless you're doing them. It's probably not gun violence unless you live in a highly violent environment. But in general, most men's greatest adversary and greatest threat is going to be a woman. It's going to be a woman that you dated, that you marry, or that you want to date, or that you want to marry. Some women out here that we got in relationships with, and the relationship didn't work out, and it hurt and it broke us to the core, is a blessing in disguise. Because if you had married that woman, she would have broke you, and you would be like Kanye right now, on TV and on social media, begging for his family back. And I don't knock him for that, because I think it would be my wish that every man would be with their family, and be treated right and be treated with respect. Because I'm pro family and I'm pro marriage, but I can tell you right now that she's not coming back. It doesn't matter how much Kanye pleads. It doesn't matter how many songs he writes. She's not coming back. And I know that based on what she said. She wants to put herself first. She's not happy being a wife. She's not happy being married because she can't put herself first. She can't put her own desires first. That doesn't make her happy. So she's going to forever be single. Kim Kardashian or women who are like her will never get married and stay married. She may get married again to a fourth guy. So she may find another foolish individual who foregoes her resume and decides to marry her. That may happen, but it won't be long lasting. It can't be long lasting until she realizes, or a woman like her who thinks in the way she thinks realizes that marriage isn't about your own personal happiness, but it's about what's best and the happiness of everybody as the whole, as a group. So guys, I want you to know that. I want you to know that when you're choosing a partner, that you need to look at their past. You need to look at their resume. And everybody has a past. I understand that. Everybody has a past. Men, we have past. Women have past. We all have a past. But you need to look at the things that are important. And if you are a man looking for a wife, I would advise you not to ever get into a relationship with a woman that's been divorced. Women get divorced for all kinds of reasons. It could have been physical abuse. It could have been someone was cheating on them all over the place. I get that and I understand that. But as a single man, I feel like that's just too much baggage for you to take on. And I think you should find someone who doesn't have that baggage. Find someone who's never been married, like you've never been married, and you guys can go through your trials and tribulations together. Because even if a woman did get divorced because of infidelity or because of physical abuse and things like that, I'm here to tell you that there's two sides to a story. And no one is ever all the way right when it comes to a divorce. Trust me. It's either 50-50 or there's more blame on one side than the other, but it's never one person who broke the marriage. There's always a balance and percentages that's going on there. So, and she's not going to tell you. She's not going to tell you why her marriage fell apart. She's not going to tell you all the things she did wrong in the marriage that contributed to her getting a divorce. And then you want to pay attention to who files a divorce too, guys. So a woman's been married 3 times and she filed divorce 3 times. If she's the one that's always filing divorce, that's another red flag for you to look at. Guys, you got to understand, look, it's not any woman that's been married 3, 4 times and got divorced. It's not the men. That's it. It's impossible. Look at the probability of that. What's the probability that all 3 times it was always the men's fault? But if you talk to these women, they'll tell you that it was the husband's fault. They'll always tell you that. And they'll never tell you that they did anything wrong. That's where, as a man, you have to use your intelligence. You have to be wise, and you have to understand that there's always 2 sides to the story. There's the left side, the right side, and then there's a side in the center. And if you're just hearing one person's side, you're not hearing the other person's side. So you can't even get to the center because everything you're hearing is one-sided. So guys, listen to me. If you're a single man, Do not get involved with a woman that's been divorced. Always look at a woman's past relationships. That's her resume. Don't ignore it. Look at it and look for the things that are flags. Look for the things that tell you that if I pick this person as a life partner, what's the chances that this actually goes to the duration of my life? Most of these women today, these modern women, want the ring. They want the wedding, but they don't, and they want the title, but they don't want what comes with it. They don't want the responsibilities of what a wife actually is. And unfortunately, the prettier the woman is, usually the worse it is. So guys, we have to be diligent and we have to be wise. When it comes to picking a life partner, you have to think with the big head and not with the little head. And you need to have a checklist that you're running off. Like, and I don't mean stupid stuff like she needs to have banging feet or something like that. But I mean, can she cook? A woman that can't cook should be an automatic no. That should be an automatic no. That means every time you want something to eat, you have to go out and buy it, or you're going to be cooking it. So you got to have certain things. There's certain things a wife needs to have. And if she can't cook, that should be an automatic no right there. And if she ain't even trying to cook or learn how to cook, that's a super duper no. You got some women out there that'll go in the kitchen and they gonna make a mess, but at least they in there trying. You got some women don't even want to step foot in the kitchen unless it's to get a bottle of water out the refrigerator. So certain things like that should be a hard no. But the prettier the girl is, we make exceptions. And that's when we get in trouble. We make exceptions. And then when you look back on a relationship or your divorce, you saw, man, you saw earlier signs that this wasn't the right person for you. You saw it. So this podcast is, I don't want you to get to that point. I don't want you to be looking back and saying, I saw it. I saw it. I want you to see it before you saw it. I want you to see it and then take another route and not see it and keep going down that road. Because a lot of people had their lives messed up and broken because they seen it and they kept going. So I don't want you guys to be in that situation, man. I want you to see it and then I want you to avoid it and not be like a lot of these other guys out here, or even be like me in certain situations. I never got divorced, but be like me in certain situations where I seen something, and instead of me going another way, I kept going down that road and ended up worse off than I was before. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this, man. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Honest Podcast. I'll talk to you soon.